The Jets had an amazing team on paper heading into this year, and many people believed that if Aaron Rodgers could stay healthy and play at a high level, then this team would finally make the playoffs and be a good team. Now, the vibes around this team were pretty weird, and I thought that there was a world where the Jets do miss the playoffs and they would be a train wreck, but even as a Patriots fan, I decided to believe in the Jets since I thought Aaron Rodgers would stay healthy and play well, and I thought to myself, there's no way the Jets are a bad team if Rodgers plays well, right? Welp, the worst case scenario for New York's season is unfolding as we speak right now, because currently they are 3-8, and the only words to describe them right now is a complete f***ing circus. So in today's video, let's dive into why the Jets have been so damn bad. Now before we do get started, please go ahead and hit that like button if you guys end up enjoying the video, since it really does help out the channel. And of course, subscribe if you guys are new and you guys enjoy content like this. That way you don't miss out on any new videos like the one you're watching right now. But without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get things started. Now for starters, Aaron Rodgers has been really inconsistent for the Jets. He's definitely had his good games like both Patriots games versus the Titans and versus the Texans. Plus, he wasn't too bad versus the Colts, but outside of those games, he's played pretty poorly. Aaron Rodgers was by far the Jets' biggest X factor, as New York, they needed good quarterback play if they wanted to make the playoffs, and while he was coming off an Achilles tear at 40 years old, many people still believed that he'd have no issue bouncing back, which is why so many people believed that the Jets would make the playoffs, but that just hasn't been the case at all, as he's been super inconsistent, and simply put, he's just not the guy that he once was. And honestly, I think Father Time has caught up to him, and I just don't see him reverting back to what he was in Green Bay. I mean, heading into the year, I didn't think he would be like prime, Green Bay Packers Aaron Rodgers, but I thought he'd be like about 70 to like 75% of that, and that's a much better player than, what he's playing like right now. And it's not even just his on-field play though, as he's been a locker room cancer for them. The dude has a whole chokehold on the Jets organization, and he's created an awful culture there, as he sometimes doesn't take full accountability for losses and his poor performances / mistakes, and he's pretty much the team's quarterback, head coach, and general manager, and he can decide who stays and who doesn't, and what moves the team makes. In New York, they don't have that much power over him, since their season depended, on his play. And I understand that franchise quarterbacks, a lot of times they have a say in the moves that the team makes and what kind of scheme that they run, but no quarterback should have the level of control, that Aaron Rodgers has on the Jets. I mean, he's the reason why Nathaniel Hackett is still on that coaching staff, why the Jets overpaid for Allen Lazard in 2023 free agency. Now, to be fair, he hasn't been totally awful this year, but he's still not worth the money that he's receiving. And I am almost certain that he was part of Robert Saleh getting fired. I know he was saying that he wasn't and whatnot, but I know that's bullshit. I am almost certain that he was part of Robert Saleh getting fired. Along with that, Joe Douglas even got fired today as I recorded this video. And it even came out that the Jets owner even wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers after their loss to the Denver Broncos, which that's pretty crazy to say the least. But yeah, New York, they've listened to every single one of his demands, and they've made all the moves he's asked for, and they've basically created his dream team, but he hasn't delivered at all, as his on-field play has been super underwhelming, and the kind of culture he's created there has just been absolutely awful. I mean, the dude has been a really bad leader, and I mean, simply put, Aaron Rodgers has just been a total negative for the New York Jets. Now that brings me to another issue, coaching. The Jets' coaching has been awful since Robert Saleh got fired, and you can say whatever you want about him, but even if you thought that he wasn't that good of a head coach, firing him in the middle of the season was idiotic, and neither him nor the defense was the biggest issue with New York. It was their offense, and if you were going to fire him, it should have been done in the offseason. That way you could have gotten, a legit replacement for him, but because they fired him in the middle of the season, they've had to promote Jeff Ulbrich to be their interim head coach, and simply put, he's just not fit to be a head coach. I mean, ever since Robert Saleh was fired, the Jets' defense has been really bad outside of their win versus the Texans, and New York, they might have a really talented roster, but in the NFL, you need more than just talent to be a good team. You need good coaching as well. In New York, they don't have that whatsoever. I mean, their coaching staff, it's up there for being arguably the worst in the NFL. I mean, they did recently demote Nathaniel Hackett from offensive coordinator, but he was their offensive coordinator for a good chunk of the season, and he was awful when he was. And even after he was demoted, the guy they got to replace him in Todd Downing, he hasn't been, well, that much better either. And Alex Rollins, who's a really good YouTuber, by the way, you guys should go ahead and check him out. He even made a really good video about how the Jets don't even have a true scheme offensively. All they really do is just run a collection of plays, and it's basically just the Aaron Rodgers show, and him doing whatever the hell he wants, even if it's not working. But besides their coaching, their offensive line still hasn't been very good, as they're below average in both pass block win rate, according to ESPN, and they're one of the worst teams in the NFL when it comes to run blocking, according to ESPN. And speaking of their offensive line, Tyron Smith, I mean, in particular, he has looked extremely washed and like a total shell of his former self. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't see New York turning their season around. I mean, look, they might have a lot of talent, like I said before. Like, if you saw their roster on paper, you would be like, oh shit, this is pretty good. But their coaching, like I said before, is absolutely abysmal. And like I said before, in the NFL and in sports in general, you need more than just good talent. You need good coaching. And along with that, Aaron Rodgers, again, he's been super inconsistent, which makes their offense very inconsistent. And they really can't rely on their defense to grind out wins for them, since they've been putrid ever since Robert Saleh got fired. And all of those factors just make it impossible for me to believe in a Jets turnaround. And I mean, truthfully, I don't think anyone, not even Jets fans, think that their season will be turned around at this point. And I mean, the best record they can achieve now is 9-8, and I don't think that's getting you into the playoffs, even if they do find a way to win out and go 9-8. Now, their remaining opponents come against the Seahawks, the Dolphins twice, the Jaguars, the Rams, and the Bills. Now, I think they will win a few of these games, but there is no way in hell that they will finish the year over 500 and make the playoffs. As I said before, New York season, it's over. And while they've been bad for years, obviously, this season might just be the most embarrassing when you consider how high their expectations were. I mean, some people thought that they were a Super Bowl contender, and some people thought that they could go all the way and, well, hoist the Lombardi Trophy in February of 2025, but that is not happening. Now, maybe next year, if the Jets can get a good head coach, they could make the playoffs, but as far as 2024 goes, it's over, and the Jets have been the most disappointing in the team in the NFL this season, as far as I'm concerned, because like I said before, most people had them making the playoffs and being a good team, and again, some people had them as Super Bowl contenders, with a few people even, picking them to win the Super Bowl. But, I mean, as it stands right now, they've been one of the worst teams in the NFL, and I mean, if you showed this to somebody, you would think that they still had Zach Wilson at quarterback, but no, they got Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, and they've been this bad. Along with that, speaking of Aaron Rodgers again, I am wondering what his future with this team will look like. Maybe he does retire, or the New York does decide to move on from him, but honestly, I mean, I don't think he's the answer at quarterback, just given his age, his play, and the negative attention he brings to this team. And honestly, who knows what's going to happen to him? I mean, I've read conflicting reports, I've seen conflicting reports, like, some of them are saying that he will be back, while others are saying that he won't be back. I mean, truthfully, I really don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But the Jets, they're in a terrible spot. In 2024, it's been a disaster for them, and as it stands right now, their future is extremely, extremely, extremely grim. But that's pretty much all I gotta say for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. It really does mean a lot to me. Again, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and of course, check me out on social media. The links to my Twitter and my Instagram are in the description below. But without further ado, I'm out, you guys.